This game should not. I'm so mad this game means this much. You know, the Lions have had such a great year with all these wins and the win streak. I think it was like, 10, 11 games in a row.
You sound like a scared fan.
I am actually very scared.
What's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. I have a part from one of my favorite fan, my favorite friend, the Lions fan. I'm in the stadium in Detroit. The game is going on. It's 10-9 right now. Lions got the ball. This is Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Always glad to have all you here. And let me hear, scared, nervous fan. How you feeling right now in your Lions sweatshirt?
Scared and nervous. I'm there in spirit with you, Chris. And so here's the deal. I've got YouTube TV. If I'm looking over here, I'm watching the game because I got YouTube TV up on my iPad here. You are a minute ahead of me because you're actually there. And so you have no delay. And so you have the ability to ruin the rest of this game for me. And I know you probably will.
I'll have my moment. I might do it to you once, but after that, I'll chill out. So we'll see where it goes from here. I know I don't want to do too many live look-ins. I'll wait till big moments to do our special NBC dive-ins here. But week 18 in the books. Right? What a good day. I'm not going to say it was a great day. We had some meaningless games, but we had jockeying for playoff position, teams trying to get in the playoffs. It was a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun being here in Detroit, man. Ahmed, I wish you were here because the stadium was electric in the pregame, that's for sure.
We had some college basketball to do back home, so I had some UConn basketball and some Oregon, Maryland basketball, so I was doing my stuff, but I've been watching this whole thing. I was trying to follow throughout the day. Two things made me mad with your pregame show, which you guys did a great job with, but number one, you were hugging Brian Flores, and I'm like, you don't need to be doing that.
Did you see that on camera?
Here.
Did you see it or you just heard it?
You said it. You were so happy to be hugging him that you said it.
He saw me doing the highlight and on the segment, and he was just like, the hell with it. I'm going to come say hi to them even though they're on live TV. And you just welcome it when that kind of thing happens in that moment.
I go, that's a bad omen. And I go, number two, what I was mad about is you got to meet my idol and Barry Sanders and do like a whole interview with him. And so that I was just like completely jealous about that. But thank God you picked the Lions to win. So that redeemed everything at the end of it.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I'm going to go Lions here. I'm just playing at home, the energy of the building, all that. Of course, it's a very even matchup. We're seeing that in the field. Barry Sanders, Ahmed, I was nervous for that. I mean, to me, listen, there's not a lot of I love sports and I love sports legends. He's kind of on like a hierarchy for me. I mean, little kid Chris Sims was like, in second grade, like, holy shit, is Barry Sanders the best player I've ever seen in my life, right? Got to see him play in person a few times. So that was really cool. And just so you know, I hugged a few Lions coaches and things too, so Don't worry, I didn't discriminate. All right.
All right, I like that. And Barry talked more to you than I have heard him talk his entire Lions career too. Like you just wound him up and he kept going. So that was cool to see. And so we will track it. What's your thought of this game so far? Right now, as we sit here, 8 minutes to go, third quarter, 10-9, Lions with a win. It's been a weird game. I don't think it's gone how anyone thought it would. What's your take on it so far?
No, what's even crazier, Ahmed, is like talking to both coaching staffs before the game, right? Got a few friends on both sides. They both thought it would be a shootout. So this is surprising them too. They were like, both sides are kind of like, I think, the other team's offense might have their way or we feel good about them again, our offense versus their defense. I think the thing that's jumped out to me is a little bit of a sloppy play. I think that's the first thing. I think really the big thing we've seen is these are really good, smart defensive coordinators. I think they've thrown curveballs at both offensive coordinators, done some things that they just weren't expecting. The Lions have pressured Sam Darnold and blitzed, I think, a lot more than Kevin O'Connell thought, right? Usually people don't blitz the Vikings because they're like, we can't cover them man to man and do that too often. The Lions went reverse psychology on them in that department. And then it's hard to tell exactly what the Vikings are doing, but don't feel like they've been quite as crazy exotic either on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it's been a little more conservative of a defense approach, which has made you guys a hair conservative too. And hey, you got unlucky. Tip pass interception, had 4th and inches. You tried to throw a pass and get a big play. And there's been some good defense out here. We can give them credit from time to time.
I mean, Lions red zone defense, it should be 21-9 right now, but they have just held the Vikings multiple times there. So we'll keep an eye on that one. This is a nightmare for me. And so I'll try to focus as much as I can as we work our way through these games.
If you don't worry if you don't focus. You're allowed not to tonight. You have a free pass not to focus, and then I'll make fun of you when you don't focus. But either way, I'll give you the free pass.
I will be zoned out multiple times. All right, let's try to get through as many games as we can as quickly as possible so we can just watch the end of the game here. So there weren't a whole lot of games with a whole lot of significance of teams making the playoffs. There are some seed jockeying, as we saw. We'll get to those games, but let's start with the games where an actual division title was clinched, and you guys did a good job on Football Night in America of showing the Buccaneers Saints and the Panthers Falcons game back to back in real time. We're watching those. They're both 1 o'clock kicks. It's like if the Buccaneers win, it doesn't matter what the Falcons do, but they were down for most of that game. Let's start with the Buccaneers Saints. Buccaneers do come back and win 27-19 in this one. Their fourth straight NFC South title, but they had to come back to do it. Baker Mayfield making plays at the end. What was your takeaway of a gritty, gutty victory by Tampa Bay finally pulling it out against the Saints?
I think the big thing is, and what we're going to have to continue to see with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is their offense is going to have to kind of drag them across the finish line. I think that's what they are, right? The big thing with Tampa, they got talent on both sides of the ball. We know the offense is super, super aggressive and explosive. It took them a little while to get going today. But the third quarter, I felt like, was the moment. When they went down and scored on the first drive of the third quarter, that changed the football game for good from that point on to where you at least felt like momentum was on their side. But here's the other big thing with me, Ahmed, and Tampa and going forward. It's like, as I wrote in my notes watching the game, it's just too aggressive on defense. It's too many 5-man fronts and 6-man fronts. Again, you've heard me joke about this. There was a few times that I looked up and I was like, wait, are the Saints running for 10 yards a run? Like, what? Am I missing something? Why do we have all these people at the line of scrimmage? What are we doing? They're gashing you in the pass game. I know that. But they're still playing run defense. They put too many people at the line of scrimmage, too many eggs in that basket, and then their secondary's banged up, and it allows what we've seen, teams be able to throw the ball on them at will. I wish they would change that approach. They got to reevaluate a little bit. Like, oh, hey, if a team, Washington, we're not scared of their run game, we're more worried about Jaden Daniels picking us apart in the pass game in the wild card round, they need to play that style a little bit more. More pass defense, less dominate the line of scrimmage run type defense. That kind of drives me crazy about Tampa Bay in general.
So we get them. That's our playoff game next week. We get Tampa's the 3 seed hosting Washington next week. I don't know. I haven't seen a line on that one. I think we have them later on here. I'm sure it's pretty close.
They played first game of the year, right? That was Jaden Daniels' first game as a starter. He was nervous as hell. He told me that. Yeah. So they're going to see a different guy here as far as what he is compared to then. That's for sure.
Buccaneers are a 3-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's an interesting matchup. I know we'll hit on it on our Wednesday pod a little bit. I worry about both defenses in that matchup is what I would tell you right off the bat. That's my first thought. But Tampa, the offense, the offensive line, you've heard me say this. It's one of the best in football. They're physical as hell. They can pass protect to allow big throws down the field. Evans, of course, is still damn dangerous, and that was so cool how he got the record today and got the 11,000-yard season in a row. The first player ever to have it the first 11 seasons of his career, right? That was a cool moment, certainly. But the Jalen McMillan, the Bucky Irvin running the football, this Bucs offense is going to be a problem for people. It's going to be all about their defense. And what I don't understand is Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey are both very good defensive tackles, yet they play defenses like they don't have good defensive tackles and that they need extra help to stop the run. And like I was saying, they just need to kind of back off that a little bit and put one more egg into the pass coverage basket. Saints played good today. They played tough. I give them a lot of credit. They were undermanned for sure. You said it to start. At one point in the game, they were controlling the football game, and you felt like Tampa was asleep at the wheel. But Tampa woke up. They won it. Good for them, and now they'll host a playoff game.
Yeah, the Saints missed the playoffs for the 4th straight season. They were 0 for 7 this year without Derek Carr. 5 for 5 with him. So I know Alvin Kamara was a huge part of their offense, but Derek Carr was as well, it seems like. So we do have some video of Mike Evans getting mobbed in the locker room, and also a tweet from Sloppy Joe Namath that says, got to give the damn okay to Baker, man. That laser touchdown at the end of the game to clinch the NFC South was sexy AF. I mean, I know on the show the guys were giving a lot of credit to McMillan, but Baker has made so many plays this year that you're just like, wow, like a lot of highlight plays.
Devin McCourty said, what a catch. I tried to jump in and go, what a throw. I mean, running towards the line of scrimmage, like from 35 yards out and throwing a laser 5 feet off the ground, right on point. So Jalen McMillan could catch the ball and dot the toes. Go ahead, Ahmed. Ahmed.
4th and 2. Lions elect to go for it. Jahmyr Gibbs over the middle, touchdown. Lions up by 7.
I'm such a good friend, okay, that this happened a minute and a half ago for me, and I let it go so you can enjoy the moment, okay?
Thank you.
But nice play there. Little like halfback right down the middle. I bet you he made a little move like he was going to go vertical or out. He was one-on-one. He cut it back inside. There was nobody there. The aggressive Lions right now, right? I mean, it's actually going vice versa. The aggressiveness of the Vikings is biting them in the ass tonight, and you guys are capitalizing, and that's good to see.
I know. Come on, Kevin O'Connell, take the points. To quit being a moron out there. All right, so Lions get the extra point. They're up by 8. We'll keep that going. Hey, Pete really wants to know what you thought of the Bucs trying to get Mike Evans the touchdown at the end there. He thinks it was foolish. You thought it was foolish, Pete?
Well, I think a lot of people thought it was foolish. I mean, only bad things can happen. You worry about that, right?
Yeah.
Tip pass in the air, and all of a sudden it's intercepted, and they're in field goal range. Or
that's true.
They know he's going to throw it, and he catches it. And as soon as he catches it, somebody hits him, and it pops up in the air. Right? There's just those things that usually coaches are very aware of. They're very conservative by nature, but I'll say with Todd Bowles, a defensive head coach, like letting the offense do that, maybe he's gone, wait, I got to go to the dark side here. Give my man what he deserves. That was really cool. I think it shows you how much the organization and team love Mike Evans. I think that's the big point there, Ahmed and Pete, because like I'm with you, Pete. I was certainly like, I don't know if you should do that. But either way, it was cool to see and good for him. And he's special. And for this day and age, hey, he's one of those few receivers in the glorified stats era that is going to go to the Hall of Fame. I don't have any doubt in saying that.
Yep. A little dinged up this year early on. He didn't know how much he'd be able to play down the stretch, but came back and was his old self. So Buccaneers are in the playoffs. The Falcons are not. They spent all that money on Kirk Cousins. They beefed up their defense. They got the quarterback in Michael Penix, who started in this game. But they go down in their final game in overtime to the Panthers, 44-38. Bryce Young looked awesome in this one. But let's start with your headline of what's your thoughts on the Falcons, all they invested in Kirk Cousins, new coach, missing out on the playoffs.
Yeah, well, it was a good year. It's a positive year, I think, when it's all said and done. Now, does that mean that the Kirk Cousins and the signing and all of that were like positives for that franchise? No, I don't think they are. You know my thoughts on that. We've discussed that a ton. You gave a guy coming off an Achilles injury $150 million. He's going to get, basically 90-something guaranteed, right? He's going to be there for 1 year. Then Michael Penix, this is his era. It started. It's over. Kirk Cousins will not be there. So, I never agreed with their thought process and what they did to start the season back in the offseason and in the spring. I thought it was one of the poorer offseason free agency, marrying it with the draft decisions we've seen in recent history, right? And it came back to, I don't know if it bit them in the ass or maybe saved them, either way. But my big point is, how good would the Falcons be if they didn't spend all that money on Kirk Cousins and got a bunch of other players to help their football team, right? They're still a team that needs more. It's a successful year. Raheem Morris has certainly had a very good year. He's a good head coach. The defense was good. You saw progress from the offense. You saw them having to manage a quarterback who, couldn't throw the ball down the field and couldn't move very much. And they made a big switch in a big moment, which was not easy. But I got to say, even though Michael Penix is going to go, 1-2 in his first 3 starts, I certainly was impressed with what I saw. I mean, you saw, again, a guy that here in a big game, I know it's the Carolina Panthers and all that, but they put a lot on his shoulders. He made a lot of big throws today. Looked more comfortable in this game, honestly, than he did last week against Washington and the week before against the New York Giants. They had it going on the offensive side of the ball. The big thing with Atlanta, and you kind of hit on it, is just that Bryce Young tore them apart. I mean, Bryce Young looked really good towards the end of the year. So that's great for Carolina. They don't have to worry about that. But he had his way, making plays with his legs, making plays with his arms. He played really well today. And yeah, Atlanta, they're going to have to go back to the offseason and just go, what we need to get more studs on defense, right? They need another legit pass rusher. They need another legit secondary player. They could use 3 or 4 guys on the defensive side of the ball and then really probably add another receiver to the mix too. But the future's bright. O-line said running back's good, right? There's a lot of good there today, but they showed today why they're not a playoff team. And really they showed why they weren't down the stretch. They're just not complete enough throughout the roster.
Well, it's why a lot of people thought that they were going to take Dallas Turner with the number 8 overall pick because they needed the edge in the defensive guys last year. And I do think that Atlanta probably is a team because you look in this game, you got Bijan Robinson, 170 yards. I don't know that he's not the best running back, not named Jahmyr Gibbs in the NFL. Penix now, you got Drake London, who's looking like a go-to guy. It's like if they do get a couple guys on defense in the offseason through the draft, I could see them being the favorite next year in this division.
I don't disagree with you.
I think that's
the
way they're going.
I hear you. I think Saquon Barkley would have something to say about that little comment you made about Jahmyr Gibbs and all that. Yeah, just the guy that led the NFL in rushing. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, he's a special player, right? I mean, Bijan Robinson's special. We sit here every Sunday. I know you sit in the viewing rooms a lot. And we always, Jason Garrett, Devin McCourty, and I go, wow, like what a special run. I think this is the perfect year for just a launch spot, a launching pad, whatever you want to say there for an Atlanta team where you go, hey, wait, Drake London arguably had the best game of his career today. Wow, Michael Penix and Drake London's a thing, right? When you're a big receiver and now you got a quarterback that can throw lasers and put them anywhere you want, right? That's awesome. It's like, it reminds me of Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin back in the day. Strong arm, receivers got all the talent and skills you want. Plus, if he's covered, he's big enough just to box somebody out, and the quarterback's got a strong enough arm to put it where he needs to put it. That was great to see. Between Penix, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, they add another guy to that mix with Darnell Mooney, another explosive receiver. And like you said, defensive players, Atlanta will have something to say. But I think Carolina is also going to be in that boat. I expect Carolina to be a different team next year, too. They got the O-line right around Bryce Young. Now it's going to be about getting receivers and spending some money on their defense, too. I would expect them to be much better in year 2 under Dave Canales.
Yeah, we'll give the final. We'll give the final word to Cam Ventura, 617, who says, "Damn okay, Bryce Young and Michael Penix both got it done in very different ways, but that quarterback battle is going to be fun to watch for years to come." Penix has an absolute howitzer. I think that's cool. If you don't make the playoffs, you want to at least have hope for next year, and I think the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons both have that going into next year. The Denver Broncos year is not over yet because they beat the second string Chiefs 38-0. They clinched their first playoff berth since 2015. We got some video of Bo Nix celebrating with the fans post-game. I think he was going by, giving them high fives. They're the 7 seed in the playoffs. Their treat is they get to go to Buffalo and play, so it might be short-lived. But what a year for Bo Nix, who you liked a lot coming into the year, into the draft. And the Broncos back in the playoffs now.
Yeah, phenomenal year, right? I mean, we know he's not rookie of the year, but man, I mean, up there with Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, right? Malik Neighbors as like the rookies that shined this year. He's certainly that. And then to go to the playoffs is quite the accomplishment. Playing quarterback for Sean Payton, all he does there. I'm going to say, I know it was the second string Chiefs today, but this still surprised me, this football game. You know, the Chiefs are one of those teams that, like, oh, there's no pressure. I thought Andy Reid might have a few tricks in the bag today. Carson Wentz, we know he can make plays. I thought, oh, man, you better watch out for Carson Wentz. You blitz or play too much man-to-man. He's certainly not going to be scared to throw the ball down the field. But this game was squashed from the get-go. You could tell from the start Denver was ready to play. They weren't asleep at the wheel just because it was the backups of the Kansas City Chiefs. Bo Nix came out on fire. I mean, he started the game 18 for 18. If you're not like, there was some starters out there for the Chiefs. 18 for 18, even against the backups, is impressive. They got rolling. I love what they're doing with Marvin Mims. Cortland Sutton's good. They lay at receivers, another big target that's impressive, right? Their O-line's good. I think they'll be a pain in the ass for Buffalo up there in upstate New York. But I do worry about this, right? They have I worry that they're too aggressive on defense for a team like Buffalo with Josh Allen, right? Too much blitzing, too much, hey, we sent 5 or we sent 6 and we got everybody man-to-man across the board. You know how it is with Josh Allen. He makes one guy miss, and then it's like, oh, no, we got to cover for 7 seconds. And it's impossible to cover any receiver in the NFL for 7 seconds. But huge, huge year for the Denver Broncos. They're not supposed to be in the playoffs this year. This is how awesome Sean Payton is the point. I mean, they drafted a rookie quarterback, and they're still paying Russell Wilson like $40 million. He's on their cap, right? They couldn't spend that money to improve their team. They just did some patchwork. They did it through the draft. They bit the bullet this year for next year to be the year they could really make some moves. They're a year ahead of schedule, and they have their franchise quarterback. Awesome win for them today. No doubt about it. He was awesome. The team was awesome, and I'm happy for Sean Payton getting in the playoffs.
Yeah, just Jason Bill U says to you, damn okay, Bo Nix progressed every week this year, just got better and better. It is their 8th win this season by 10 or more points. That is the most in the NFL. I would not have thought the Denver Broncos had more double-digit wins than any team in the NFL. They don't really have a running game that has been consistent this year. A lot has been on the right arm of Bo Nix, but he's excelled in a lot of these games.
I think that's what makes it impressive is that, like early in the year when he got going, they were running the ball a little bit. But as the year went on, you're right, it kind of disappeared and they had to rely on him. Also, I think the other thing with your points scored, their defense can make plays, right? So they can score some points. But I think to your points with how they blow teams out, like when Sean Payton's got you, he's got you and you're in trouble, right? And I think that's kind of like the thing I would connect there. You look at a few of those games where they did blow out teams, the Falcons being one of them a little earlier in the year, where, he cracked the code in some of those matchups. He's going to have a different code to crack up in Buffalo. They're going to have to run the ball a little bit. If you throw the ball all game long with Sean McDermott and all the crazy zones and things he does, that plays right into their hand. The kryptonite of the Bills is their run defense. Hopefully Denver can run and make that game interesting and fun, which I expect it to be.
One comment on the Chiefs. Was it a mistake for them in your mind for them not to play some of their guys, because now Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, among others, will not have played a meaningful game or a game at all for 3 weeks?
Yeah. I'm not worried about those 3. It's some of the other guys, right, that didn't play. That's what I worry about. And I worry about it as a collective team, not having to rev the engines up and get ready for battle in 3.5 weeks, like you say. Again, you go back in history, the recipe for the number 1 seed getting upset is usually along those lines. Didn't have to play much competitive football late in December, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, you got to start the engine and rev it up, and we need to go, all systems go, all cylinders go, and you can't get it going again. I worry about that with them, but it is the Chiefs, and I probably worry about them with that less than anybody I've ever worried about ever in the history.
Totally. They can do no wrong, but it is kind of strange because they are the team that in the preseason, the ultimate meaningless games actually do play their guys. I know, to get ready for game number 1, because they think game number 1 is pretty important. Playoff game number 1 is also pretty important, but we'll see how that all works out for them.
They obviously chose health. They chose health over everything, and they're going to bank on that. Their experience will not let them fall in the traps that I just discussed.
Right. Which until they lose, we cannot question anything that Andy Reid or those guys do. It's impossible. All right, let's get to the section now of teams that were in, but now we know who they're playing, where they're playing. We already talked about this one, the Washington Commanders beating the Cowboys 23-19. So that locks up the 6th seed for them. They're at Tampa next week. Washington, what a year, right? They get more wins, 12, the most wins they've had in a year. This is 12 since 1991. They had a win streak of 5 games. Jaden Daniels going to win Rookie of the Year. If you were to lay out this year and say at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to get 12 wins, Jaden Daniels going to play like this, you'd be like, you're dreaming. But that's exactly what happened for the Washington Commanders this year, Chris.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it's a special year. Talk about another team ahead of schedule. Rookie quarterback, new head coach. Wait, you're not supposed to, go 12-5 and be this impressive, and they have been. Dan Quinn's done a phenomenal job fixing the defense and making them competitive weekly, even though I don't think they're like super talented, but they play hard. They're aggressive. They're physical as hell. And then Jaden Daniels plays a game that is very rare to see as a rookie. It feels like I'm watching an 8-year veteran when you watch Jaden Daniels. That's just really what the feeling is overall. This was a scary game. This was a game where Dallas controlled the game for the first half. They really did. But when it got down to it, Dallas, when they would drive the field, could just not score touchdowns. They kept settling for field goals. And then, oddly enough, Jaden Daniels doesn't play much in the second half, right? They said he could play, but he was a little banged up. He wasn't perfect. And Marcus Mariota was absolutely unreal phenomenal when he got in the game. And they just went up and down the field on the Dallas defense like they cracked the code at halftime. Hey.
Da, da,
Yeah.
da, 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 da.
Boom.
Jameer Gibbs runs in.
It's killing me that I can't tell you what's going on here. Okay, because they just kicked the extra point where I am. All right. I don't know if you saw, but first off, Minnesota missed a field goal. They missed a field goal that gave Detroit good field position, close to midfield. They went down the field, make a few plays, and Jameer Gibbs, 13-yard touchdown run, 24-9 Lions. As Ahmed always says, in a game you already know about, but we're going to tell you anyways because that's what the whole podcast is.
Pete's telling me Van Ginkel dropped a pick 6 too recently, and I did not see that actually.
They threw like a little.
So
they threw just a little flare route to Jameer Gibbs, or like a little something out wide, and he read it all the way and almost got it and dropped it. And yeah, he was in the ground in the fetal position, sick to himself.
Don't want to take anything for granted, but this is looking good right now. 24-9, Lions up with 13 minutes to go in this game. All right, anything more on the Washington Commanders here that we missed there?
No, with Washington, their offense, I think their offense is going to have to perform really well in the playoffs. I think the pressure is on them to run the ball, be efficient, control the clock. I don't think the Commanders' defense is super talented, like you heard me say. I'd worry about Tampa Bay being able to do just about anything on them. I think it's something that will be a problem. Even if Washington wins the playoff game, it'll still be a problem the next week. They got to play through their offense. They got to kind of control the clock and do like what we've kind of talked about with them or the Miami Dolphins all year, which is a ball control passing offense. We'll see where it goes. But damn, I mean, impressed by them, certainly. And today, I will say it looked like it was a letdown day. It looked like, hey, we won a big game on Sunday night against Atlanta, and we're going to beat the Cowboys today because they're not that good. And like I said, the Cowboys, Trey Lance, who did do some really good things in the football game, they were a pain in the ass and had a chance there for a while to steal this one. That's for sure.
Yeah, what do you make of the Cowboys now? They finished the season 7-10. You've mentioned it a few times with the injuries they've had, with the lack of personnel on defense. Maybe they were about a 7-win team anyway, without the injuries. So, obviously, there's going to be a discussion on Mike McCarthy here now for weeks on end. Where do they go from here, you think?
I know. I'm interested to see where this goes, too. I know Jerry Jones got asked a question today about Mike McCarthy, and he said, I have no problem with him going to go with interviews, right? And he just says, we want somebody that wants to be here. First off, that's a BS comment. Mike McCarthy wants to be there. You didn't pay him, Jerry Jones. So, yeah, he's got to do what's best for him. That's on you. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think at this point, I really think they'd be crazy to let go of Mike McCarthy. I was impressed with how they played this year, how tough and physical they were. Mike McCarthy, unfortunately, is just never going to get anybody off his back unless he goes deep into the playoffs and gets to a Super Bowl without Aaron Rodgers. He just doesn't get that credit. I know I've been critical in the past too, but like we said, 7-10 with all these injuries that they had to deal with, and I don't think it was a crazy and awesome, talented roster to begin with. If they can get a few players next year with that quarterback and receiver they got there, get a running back to add to the mix, sign Micah back, I think there'll be some different guys on defense. I doubt DeMarcus Lawrence is there on the Dallas Cowboys next year. So we'll see. But, I still think Dallas will be a pain in the butt next year and still have something to say in the NFC if they can stay healthy.
And a topic of conversation for every single season that they're around. All right, so let's move on now to the Bears and Packers here. This was a back and forth game. Looked like the Packers won it with under a minute to go with a field goal. Bears drive down and end up redeeming themselves for a missed field goal earlier in the season against the Packers. The Bears win by 2, 24-22. I think the big story on this one, Chris, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, I mean, the Packers going in limping now. I thought going into that Vikings game, they really had a chance to look like maybe the third best team in the NFC. You lose that game. You lose this game, which didn't mean a ton, although now you are the 7th seed. Now you're at Philly next week, and Jordan Love's banged up, and your backup in Malik Willis is banged up.
Yeah. How could they go into the playoffs feeling good about what they are right now? Matt LaFleur all week said we're going to play so we can feel good about going in the playoffs. The Bears got nothing to play for. They beat you on your home field. And then within that, you didn't even really play like good quality football, sloppy, let up a 95-yard punt return. That starts the scoring for Chicago, who couldn't do anything to start the football game, but that kind of got them jump-started. Jaden Reed fumbles around midfield or on their side of the midfield, gives the Bears a short field again. Again, their offense was struggling, Chicago, but, here you go. Let's try to jump-start you a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know how you could feel good if you're the Packers right now. You go in with 2 losses. You're banged up like you talked about a little bit, and as we've talked about the whole year, really, I mean, Jordan Love's been banged up for the better part of the year and has never seemed to get in that group. I know last year they went into playoffs as the number 7 seed. I get that. But last year they went in and we all were going, whoa, they look good. Jordan Love's on fire, right? And then they made some big-time plays in the wild card round. I don't see that right now. I think they're going to have to rely on their defense, their run game. And I certainly think that, the Philadelphia Eagles are a better football team. You know my thoughts. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about the Packers. I feel like that basically
it's the Jordan Love. Now he's dealing with numbness in his hands. Christian Watson had a bad non-contact knee injury that didn't look right? Yeah. So all of that. And then there you are. Your defense plays well really the whole game. Right. But at the end starts to fall apart. We let a big pass to DJ Moore. But still, like you said, we hit a long field goal. We got a chance. Let's stop Caleb Williams and then get off the field and win the game with our defense. They don't. They let Caleb Williams and company do what they want. And then the big completion down the middle with 12 seconds left. I don't know what Green Bay was doing. It looked like they were protecting the sideline, but they had nobody in the middle of the field. And they threw like a 12-yard pass. And with 12 seconds left, you can get up to the line of scrimmage and spike the ball in enough time. And the Bears got payback for their blocked missed field goal at home a few weeks ago. They got their payback against the Packers this time.
Just to show you how tough the NFC North is, Green Bay 1-5 versus the North this season. They were 10-1 against every other team outside of the division. The Bears finished 5-12 on the year. Caleb Williams gets his bumps, his bruises. Even in this game, only 148 yards. It was not pretty, but they had coaching turmoil all the way throughout the year. They're going to be able to reset in the offseason. What do you think? The future's still bright for Chicago, or do they really have to nail this head coaching hire?
Well, they got to nail the head coaching hire just to make the number 1 pick and the quarterback, start going in the right direction. Again, Caleb Williams was not perfect this year. He certainly has things to work on, right? Missed too many throws, was greedy at times where guys are open, stop looking for bigger plays, right?
He performed worse. He performed worse than you thought he would this year. Is that right? Is that correct?
Definitely. I feel like when they lost that game to Washington on the Hail Mary, it started to snowball into, I got to take over these games by myself. I got to make a play. I got to scramble around and make magic happen. And then what it really did was just cause more problems. You and I saw a lot from Caleb Williams to go, listen, he's a starting NFL quarterback. He's got superstar talent. But yes, he needs a new coach in there, the right messaging, get him to play and realize how life in the NFL is played at the quarterback position. I know Ben Johnson's certainly a big name there. We'll see where it goes. I think Ben Johnson's going to be very picky and choosy. And if he wants to go to a place like Chicago, it's going to be, is he comfortable with the GM Ryan Poles there? That's going to be the big thing. Not to say that it's Ryan Poles is a bad guy or anything like that, because I have a lot of respect for Ryan Poles. My point is that Ben Johnson's going to pick a place where he feels like, wait, I like this GM. It works for me. And he's going to put himself in a spot that he can get a second contract. That's what it's all about. Can I be here and be good enough for 4 years and feel good about my continuity with my GM to where like my plan gets to work itself and I get to see the second contract where it's big money, right? That's what it's all about. Because if you get fired after 2 years, you might never get a chance again. So you got to be smart about it. And I think Ben Johnson's smart enough to do that.
Yeah, and it's tough. You know, the Bears keep talking about they want a leader of men out there. So you think of maybe like the Ron Rivera types or the Mike Vrabel types that have been coaches before. But and to kind of connect the point to the Dallas Cowboys conversation too, you got Mike McCarthy there. It's like a lot of the hot names in the NFL for the head coaches are coordinators, maybe who've never been head coaches before. Like none of those are slam dunks. Like we don't know if Ben Johnson's a good head coach. We know he's a great offensive coordinator. But it's like if you're gonna make the leap and fire a Mike McCarthy or for the Bears not trying to find who that guy is, it's a crapshoot, and we've seen that year in and year out, really.
It is a total crapshoot. Ben Johnson, though, I will say, and I hope you still got me here. You see me?
Oh, I still got you. Yeah.
You know what happened? You're going to give me a second here because don't let me forget I checked my phone and AirPods, but they're coming back, so you should hear me better now. You got me now?
Yep. Now we got you back. You called it perfectly.
Cool. Little technical difficulty there. But here's my thing with Ben.
Uh-oh. Now we lost you. Hold on. Now go back.
But damn, I got lost again. Hold on.
There you go. Hold on. Don't check your phone. Put your phone down. Don't be a millennial or yeah. Don't let me forget. We're not going to let you forget what your point you want to make about Ben Johnson.
I got it.
Okay.
Good? All right.
We're good.
So the big thing with Ben Johnson is I feel like this is the best offensive coordinator, head coach candidate to come out since Shanahan and McVay, right?
Wow.
That's how I feel, right? When I watch film, you hear me every week. You know that. I said it on the pregame show today. You can't stop this Lions offense. Like you might think like, oh yeah, we're going to take this away. As soon as you go too far in taking one area away, they're going to figure it out and screw you over in another way. That's where they're impressive. Yeah. And the offense is just so vast and has everything that, yeah, this is a different animal. I would be shocked if it doesn't work for Ben Johnson. But I think also in that, he's going to make sure it works because he's going to be very picky and choosy about who he associates himself with to become an ex-head coach, wherever that may be.
The only thing I would say is that, I mean, Sean McVay has proven himself to be like a highly motivated, he's an energy guy, can lead that team. They respect him. Kyle Shanahan relates to, relates to those players better than maybe any other coach out there. Not that Ben Johnson can't do that. I mean, he's obviously an offensive genius and he's got this offense working at such a high level, but it's that other part of it that Shanahan and McVay have proven to have that. I mean, I don't know Ben Johnson well enough to know if he's got that, but I think that would be the question that I would have.
I understand. He's a more of a quiet confidence type of guy, right? He's not like maybe as intense and rah-rah as McVay or Shanahan, but there's still an edge about the guy. There is. Yeah. I know that. I've heard it from enough people. And I think he's got all the right stuff to be really special. And I'm sorry, you're going to probably lose him when the season's over.
I'm trying to take his value down as much as I can, and it's not working. All right, let's go to the Seahawks and Rams. Speaking of Sean McVay here, so the Rams lose by 5 to the Seahawks in a game where Geno Smith, you guys talked about this, like locked up $6 million in incentives in just this one game. Congratulations to Geno right there. But in that win, the Rams fall to the 4 seed now, and so they have to host the loser of this game. It's going to be a 14-win team either way, Lions or Minnesota Vikings. So what'd you make of the Rams losing that game? Winning the division, I think that's commendable after all the injuries they had early in the season. We almost wrote them off, I feel like. What's your take on the Rams now being the 4 seed after losing this game?
Well, I think they prioritized overall health more than anything and being fresh. Sure. They just said, the hell with it. We feel like we can beat Detroit or Minnesota, even though that's risky. I get it. Yeah. But they obviously said, the hell with the opponent. It's about us. And I respect that. That's what McVay's always kind of been like anyways. Like we were talking about with the Chiefs, who they usually play in the preseason. McVay usually never plays his guys. But I just think it's also impressive today where Seattle came out playing. They jumped out to a 14-3 lead. Geno Smith was hot. DK Metcalf was catching balls, and you were just like, all right, the Rams are going to lay it down. But once again, like the McVay culture, He does not get enough credit for how tough his teams play, the detail and just the overall intensity. And even them with the mix and match group of starters and backups and guys that played a little, then got pulled out. First off, Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I'm sitting here during the games watching it today going, damn, look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Nice play. Good throw. I mean, they hung in there. They really did. It made it a game. Again, it's another one where I feel like Trey Lance with Dallas, with Jimmy Garoppolo, if they just had a few more reps, they wouldn't have settled for field goals. They would have gotten touchdowns, right? They drove the ball, but the hardest thing to do is get that last 8-10 yards where the field shrinks. And that's where you need the reps as a quarterback during the season to feel those windows and how fast it is. And that's kind of where they stalled out for the majority of the day today. They just couldn't quite punch it in. But I expect the Rams, they beat the Vikings at home earlier this year. They went toe-to-toe with the Lions to start the year. They're not going to be scared. They're going to go, hey, our defense is playing pretty good, and we're 100% healthy on offense. And then McVay's going to go into the lab like the mad scientist and try to come out with a game plan and upset one of these NFC North teams.
Yeah, bummer for Seattle. I mean, they finished with the exact same record as the Rams, 10-7. They miss out. 10 wins or more for the 9th time in the last 13 seasons. Mike McDonald, the first ever to win 10 games in his first season as Seattle head coach. And your prize is you get to watch the playoffs from home here. Hawk Astrologer says, damn okay. Geno Smith, 4 touchdowns, career high, those $6 million in incentives in the game. I pray we extend him and fire Grubb and get an O-line, please, and an NFL level OC for this stud. A lot of requests from Hawk Astrologer.
Well, Hawk Astrologer, I mean, there's some work to be done. The O-line's the first thing that's got to get fixed. We've been talking about the O-line up in Seattle for 5 years now. It's come on. Something's got to happen. Something's got to change. I mean, it's literally every year. We go back to the Russell Wilson years. We were still talking about the damn O-line then too. So that Grubbs, listen, I like what Grubbs has some things that I really like. Does he have to adjust his game a little bit from maybe his college offense into the pros a little bit more? Yes, but I still saw some things where I was like, that's creative. They were as explosive as anybody when they got to go in the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't know if it justifies firing him, but the O-line thing's real. The Geno Smith thing, that's going to be the biggest thing because he's still a starting NFL quarterback. But at his age, are they going to, and it's a coach that's in year 2, are they going to want to start with somebody young and new and go that way? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they did that. And then Geno has to find a place somewhere else. So it's going to be definitely one of the more interesting offseason stories. I'm going to bet that Geno's not back and that they try to start something fresh and a new era under Mike McDonald. That would just be my bet. I'm not saying that Geno Smith deserves that. I just think that's where it's going to go when it's all said and done.
You've already seen what happens right here, but I have not. So we're under 6 minutes to go here. 4th and 2. Lions elect not to kick the field goal. They're going to either get a touchdown here, first down, or pin the Vikings deep. They're is what Dan Campbell does.
Sides.
Oh, and it's a jump off sides. My least favorite play in all of football because it never works, except it did right there.
And I don't think the Lions were really going to go for it there. I do think this is one where they were just calling this to do this right here. And Dan Campbell was going to kick the field goal to go up 3 scores. I sure the hell hope he was. Going to do that. But either way, they're sitting pretty. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I got 1st and goal. They're about to line up from 1st and goal at the 4, but I won't tell you. I'll let you see it and enjoy it.
Right.
I don't know where it's going to go. They're snapping the ball right now.
And
you'll see. You'll have to wait. Oh no!
Gotta wait.
Yeah, you have to wait
a whole minute here. Don't do that to me. We've had the only thing I've been rooting for is healthy players. After every play, I cringe. Offensively and defensively, they lost so much on defense. You're just and I know they lost Terrion Arnold. Looks like an ankle injury here. I also want the 1 seed. Yeah, no, I'm saying throughout most of the year, Pete, that I've just been rooting for a healthy team. But yes,
you're gonna
I'm rooting for the 1 seed. So here's first and goal.
Get it.
Shotgun handoff goes inside. Is he in? Oh my gosh! It's a rugby scrum.
You got
in
it
for a touchdown.
Yep. You got it. You got the number 1 seed. It's all over. It's 31-9. It's 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. It's all over. NFC North champs. and the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. And good for you guys. The playoffs are going to be more fun watching everybody have to come up to Detroit and try to beat them up here in this stadium.
They need the time off. All right, so we'll have plenty of time to break down this game once it is final here. But it looks like it's in the bag. All right, let's go to my other favorite guy from Michigan, or he at least gave Michigan a national title last year. Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers beat the Raiders 34-20. LA is going to be the 5 seed at Houston next week. In this game, they got things rolling. They scored on 7 straight possessions. But get this, Chargers, most wins they've had in a season since 2018. The Jim Harbaugh effect. And I know they made some changes, but they didn't add a whole lot on offense. It was just basically, what do you think? Adding a different philosophy around the team.
Yeah, the first thing he said is like, let's not beat ourselves. How about that? Because that's been going on here in Los Angeles with the Chargers for a long time. Let's just cut out stupid mistakes, right? Let's manage the game the right way. Let's play situations the right way. That's the biggest thing they did. And then, of course, he's just made them more physical and maybe simplified them to a degree. Simplified them on the offense. Like, hey, here's one goal. We're going to run the ball, and then we're going to let Justin Herbert throw his howitzer down the field, and that's all we're going to do. That's what we do. Defensively, they're creative with their guy Jesse Minter. They do a lot of cool stuff there, but like not super creative. It's based in zone coverage creativity, and it's like he just keeps you on edge. But again, it's physical. People aren't ever out of position. You don't see them blow plays or coverages very often. Biggest thing today, right? Because this game started off a little shaky for them too. The Raiders, I give them credit. They continue to play throughout the year under Antonio Pierce. And you've heard me talk about Aiden O'Connell. He's done very well. He impresses me. He does, with not a lot of like superstar weapons around him. They were a pain in the ass. They hung around for a while today. But man, the Chargers are going to go in the playoffs feeling good. Justin Herbert, their offense is going to go in feeling good with vibes high. I mean, he had one of his best days of the year as far as big plays down the field. Quentin Johnson had his best game as an NFL receiver. So to get another guy here with Ladd McConkey, and the fact that they have Disley back at tight end here in the last few weeks, they're going to be a pain in the ass. And of course, they're the 5 seed, right? And we know Houston has not been playing real sharp football. And that, to me, is one of the most even matchups in the AFC playoffs. That game could go either way.
All right, so you'll have time to kind of break down the Chargers and that matchup with Houston. Real quick on the Raiders, 4-13 is where they end up. Bright spot was Brock Bowers, 112 receptions, most ever by a rookie tight end. Or is this rookie receiver ever in NFL history? Is that just rookie tight end or rookie receiver? Rookie receiver?
It's a rookie receiver, rookie pass catcher. It doesn't matter. He broke Puka Nakua's record. He lost the record today for a little bit with Malik Neighbors, but then regained it during the game. But Brock Bowers is like, he's awesome. He's better than I thought he was going to be. To come in at that position and just tear it up right from the get-go, right? To separate from NFL safeties and linebackers as easily as he has. He's a game changer. He's going to make defenses next year. If they can get another weapon around him where you're going to go, wait, we got to kind of change everything we want to do because of Brock Bowers. We can't let a linebacker or safety cover him. He'll get open all day. Oh, no, now we got to put a corner over there on him. And if they get another weapon to go along with that, that should be good. But, hey, priority number 1 with the Raiders is going to be getting the right head coach and getting a quarterback in there that gets that fan base to believe and get some good juju and hype going again there in the Las Vegas area. I respect what Antonio Pierce did. I think he was dealt kind of a bad hand. I really do. But at the end of the day, we know it's kind of results business. And, I don't see him coming back.
Yeah, and you don't think it's Aiden O'Connell there even though you like him, you don't think he's a long-term answer.
I think Aiden O'Connell's proven that he can be a starter in the NFL. He might be a full-time starter at one point in his career, but I don't think he's going to excite anybody right now, especially taking over the head coaching job and be like, yes, I want the Raiders and I want it to be Aiden O'Connell. We're going to take over the NFL. I don't think he's going to add that type of excitement. But his play and what he's done his first 2 years of his career has almost ensured him that he will be 8 years or more in the NFL as a backup, bridge quarterback, whatever. And happy to see that for him for sure.
Shedeur Sanders is the guy. Like, that is your Raiders quarterback, your franchise quarterback, if there's ever been one, right? It's just like the attitude and all that comes with it. I don't know if it'll happen that way,
listen,
but it
he
seems
fits
like that
the
makes
mold
sense.
in a lot of things there. There's definitely right. You got a little Kenny Stabler in him, renegade, gunslinger, whatever else. We'll see. Let me evaluate these quarterbacks a little bit, and we'll start having some real good conversations about that one.
That's a tease to the next 4 months of your life, Chris. Right there is what you'll be doing. While you think about that, we got to take a break here while I watch the end of this Lions game. But when we come back, we got revealing some headlines. That's what we got to do. Give me the headlines. The Patriots make another change here at the head coach position. That and much more to talk as the Chris Sims Unbuttoned pod from Connecticut and Detroit rolls on. Welcome back to the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast. Time for home team help presented by our friends at Lowe's. And for this, we're diving into the Eagles and Giants game, a 7-point victory by Philadelphia. Their longest home win streak. They've won 7 in a row at home now since 2016, 2017. They continue to win even when they're not even trying to win. And I guess the Giants had something to do about that here. Just stay healthy is what the Eagles wanted to do, and they stayed healthy and got a win as well, Chris.
Yeah, stayed healthy, didn't play anybody. And it was one of those days where it's like, damn, the Eagles backups are better than our starters and the New York Giants. Damn, it's like it's not even close. So that was kind of disheartening to a degree. But the Eagles, you know my thoughts about them. They're extremely deep throughout. Tanner McKee did some good things. They kind of jumped out of the Giants early. Giants tried to hang around. Malik Neighbors made some special plays like he always does. I know as a Giant fan, I'm extremely pumped about that aspect of it for sure. But I think, hey, we know what the Eagles are. It's tough to play there in Philadelphia. Right. I think my thoughts. I have a hard time thinking that Green Bay is going to go in there and beat them the next week. I have a hard time thinking whoever is going to go in there and beat them in the divisional round. It's always been tough to play down there in Philadelphia. It's a great stadium. It's a great fan base. They can rattle and get into the minds of the opposing team because they're so loud and talk so much crap to the opposing team all the time. But they get on a winning note. Their big thing is get healthy. Let's make sure Jalen Hurts gets out of the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
AJ Brown's been dealing with some lower body stuff and dealing with all that. So they got to treat it like a bye week, and the Giants treated it like a bye season. So that was great.
We have Sriracha Merchant that says, damn okay to Kellen Moore, making Tanner McKee look like Peyton Manning. Eagles have the best coaching staff in the league. I don't know about that, but
I don't know about that, but it is good. And I don't think it gets the respect it deserves. I mean, the fact that you even got to watch pregame shows today and that like Nick Sirianni talked about on the hot seat, to me just seems crazy. Like, I know it's not been perfect, but damn. I mean, they got a good thing going there in Philadelphia. They got some personalities. So, when there's a lot of personalities on the football team, people clash and all that. But Kellen Moore on the offensive side of the ball, of course, was a huge improvement from anything they had last year. And the same thing with Vic Fangio on the defensive side of the ball. And then you couple that with their talent. I think Philadelphia is for real, and I'm jealous of them. And I hope the Giants can start to acquire some talent like the Philadelphia Eagles sometime here in the near future.
Yeah, how about this for the Eagles? They won 14 games. They have never won more games than that in franchise history, and the coach is on the hot seat with some of the fans there.
It is a little crazy. It is. Now, he doesn't always help himself with some of his emotions and his antics, and he can maybe do a little bit better in that department. But hey, they never die. They play hard as hell. They do a lot of good things. They're clutch. They certainly seem to have a much better culture than they did last year. We'll see what they can do and see if they can, make a run here in the NFC.
Over on the Giants side, Rich Fountain says this to you. Seems like Joe Schoen has not been held responsible for poorly evaluating Bo Nix and likely Penix. Would you keep him and Dayball?
It's going to be, I mean, from everything I hear, right, they're going to have an interview with both of them separately, right? And when I hear that, of course, everybody's going to stake their case and stick up for themselves, right? I mean, that's just what's going to happen. I think Joe Shane is probably going to try to sell it as in, hey, look at my rookie class. Look what they did here this year. The coaching wasn't very good. And he's going to make a promise that, hey, I can bring this coach in. I have a relationship with him, right? That's something to watch out for. In fact, he has a relationship with Ben Johnson, where they go back to the Miami days. That would be one spot that I think is secretly under the radar for Ben Johnson. So, and I think that's what would be sold to ownership through Joe Shane, is that I can bring Ben Johnson in here, right? So we'll see where it goes. I think Daboll is done. I feel like Joe Shane's hanging on by a thread. I think if I was going to fire Daboll, though, I would fire everybody. I would just go and start new. And I think that, Rich Fountain and some of the things he said are very real. Yeah, the quarterback thing's going to be judged, whether Daniel Jones, the contract, why didn't we draft anybody? Why didn't we make a move in the draft to get somebody? All of that, let alone just on the field. The results were way below standards of what I didn't expect them to go to the playoffs, and it was still much worse than I expected. And that's not good. And it seems like all Giant fans are kind of, upset with the whole franchise right now.
Yeah, obviously you always want to get that franchise quarterback. I mean, but how can you argue with Malik Neighbors, right? You mentioned it, 109 receptions, Steve Smith's franchise record broken in this one. I mean, you're not going to find many better offensive playmakers at any position than they did in the first round with Neighbors this year. So they did hit that.
Neighbors is special. Yeah, Neighbors is a very special player. And he did have a good draft in Joe Shane. There's been some good there.
But I feel like that was Daboll. I mean, Daboll liked Neighbors too. So you wonder how much was,
so that's
both
where
of them.
these conversations, this is where they're all going to state their case to the owner and be like, well, anybody could have took Neighbors. They didn't need to be, you know what I mean? So there's going to be a little bit of a civil war in there about saving your jobs. But either way, I just, Pete's a Giant fan with me. I don't know any Giant fan that's super excited when they hear like, hey, Daboll and Joe Shane might come back next year. I don't hear everybody go, oh, yeah, we should do that. They're this close, right? And for those reasons, I don't expect the Mara or the Tisch family to bring them back.
All right, that was Lowe's Home Team Help, brought to us by our friends over at Lowe's. A couple of games here that were just playoff tune-ups here, especially for the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans. They win 23-14. C.J. Stroud got out there. What was it, one drive maybe? Went down, scored a touchdown, just trying to stay hot. 6 for 6, 50 yards on that only drive. So they get a win. I feel like the theme with them this year, and if you've listened to the pod all season long, you've been waiting for them to play one complete game where they kind of look like the team that was on the cusp last year. I don't think we got it in the regular season.
No, we didn't. I think you're exactly right. And it's not like today. Today can maybe create some false positive vibes, right? I think that's the big thing. And I think that's what D'Amico Ryan won. He saw, like you said, C.J. Stroud, 6 for 6. We got Nico Collins the ball a few times in the drive, once for the touchdown. Boom, get out of the game. Hopefully you guys feel good for next week's playoff game. I think the same thing on the defensive side of the ball as well. But, yeah, it wasn't like, I mean, again, it doesn't make me feel better. I don't sit here and go, oh, the Houston Texans, all their problems are fixed here. Certainly not. Not against a Tennessee Titan team that is obviously done, sipping pina coladas, and is hearing rumors about their head coach and whether he'll be back in year 2, right? They were competitive today. They tried to hang in there. But, yeah, as I sit here with Houston, it's hard for me to sit here and think that they're going to be much of a playoff run. I think all the issues we've talked about all year are still there. Offensive line issues, protection issues. Hey, they ran the ball well today. That was really one of the big plays of the day when Dameon Pierce broke the 92-yard long touchdown run. That was kind of game over after that point. Hopefully they can run the ball a little in the playoffs. If they can do that, then maybe you'll see a little bit more of what you saw from C.J. Stroud last year. But I don't expect that. And, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked when it's all said and done if Houston's one and done when it's all over.
They did get consecutive 10-win seasons for just the third time in franchise history. So they did get to that mark. A lot of times you just got to win those games. But it's like, how many playoff caliber teams are they beating and how do they look against them? And that's all they're playing right now is the playoff teams.
They learned the lesson of, like, you have to reinvent yourself. You can't just rest on, oh, this is what we did last year. We'll just come in this year and do it again. Right. Yeah. Bobby Slowick's going to have to go back to the lab and figure some things out with his offense and all that. And I think the same with D'Amico Ryans and the defensive side of the ball as well.
If you're Tennessee here, they tied a franchise record for losses in a season with 14. Will Levis goes 9-17, did not play the whole game. I mean, like, you want to have some positive feelings at the end of the year. Do you have your franchise quarterback? Do you have some pieces in place? I don't know that there are a whole lot of yeses to those questions for the Tennessee Titans.
Well, that's where I would go. They shouldn't fire Brian Callahan. Like, I see talk about, like, maybe he's on the hot seat and they could change there. I mean, again, what did we look at in Tennessee to think that was going to be like a juggernaut in the NFL this year? Let alone he got a quarterback that, showed what we thought he was coming out in the draft process a little bit. Yeah, there's some physical tools, but I don't know if he knows how to really play the position and do it on a consistent basis. Now, that's going to be the thing. That's the thing that Callahan can certainly use in his defense of himself, the ownership, when they talk to him and all that. I think the big thing there is, like, hey, Rand Carthon, the GM and all that, that's who needs to be under the spotlight. It's just as far as, where are we going with this team? Where are we going with the talent on this football team? I like the defense and the scheme and what they do there. I think there is some good players in the front seven, but yeah, they need a little help in the secondary, certainly. And of course, on the offensive side of the ball, they need a lot. I mean, a lot. They don't have, many weapons that you're worried about other than Calvin Ridley. That's it. So, yeah, that's got to improve. I'll be interested. They're definitely one team that I have no feel for where they're going this offseason and what's going to happen. I do think they're going to go get a new quarterback, that's for sure. But as far as the coach and the GM, I'm going to be interested to see what ownership does there.
So they got the number 1 pick. You think they take a quarterback with that pick?
I do. I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's, I think they've seen enough from Will Levis to know he's not the franchise, the future there. And I would expect, quarterback of some sort to come into town to kind of revitalize the organization.
Hopefully those Mayo deals will carry him through the rest of his career here. All right, time for Give Me the Headlines. Give Me the Headlines presented by Hyundai. We go into the printing press. Got a couple games here. We'll start with the Jets defeating the Dolphins in a game where the Dolphins needed to win. Of course, no Tua in that one, kind of limping to the end of the season. Jets win by 12, 32-20. Your headline for this one is?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers, the 500 Club. Welcome.
Got it.
Yeah, the 500 Club.
In NFL history. 5th player in NFL history.
That's special, right? I mean, 500 Club. It's who are we talking about? Manning, Brady, Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm missing somebody. Manning, Brady, Drew Brees. Wait, who the hell am I missing here?
I don't have it here. Manning, Brady, Drew Brees. It's an obvious one.
It's too late here. I'm losing my Brett Favre.
Not Brett Favre, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is
right?
Brett Favre.
It is. It's Brett Favre.
Pete's looking it up.
It's Brett Favre.
Pete was like, come on, guys. You got to be able to get this.
Brady, I said Brady.
Brees.
Brady, Manning, Brees, Brett Favre, and now Aaron Rodgers. I got it.
All right, we got it.
I forgot Brett Favre. For some reason, that one was lost in my brain there.
Well,
for a little bit.
he had 500 interceptions as well, so that's what kind of throws it off there. It's just like 5 and 5. Yeah, but he waited for the last game to play maybe his best game of the year.
Did some good things. He played pretty good at the end of the year. Aaron Rodgers certainly showed enough on the field where if somebody wants to take a shot on him for next year, they're going to go, well, he can still throw it and make some plays with that right arm. Now, we might have to adjust him in the fact that he can't move at all anymore. And he's not, as I've always said the last few years, he's reluctant to stand in there and wait for plays to develop down the field. But at the end of the season, he did do that a little bit more too, which was encouraging. But the real big thing of this day is what you said. The Dolphins unable to win a tough, physical, cold game when they need it once again. And, we want all the stars down here in Miami. And they overpay for some of them and do all that. And the fact that Tyreek Hill doesn't go back in the football game, late in the football game, and then says he wants out of there, basically, I'm paraphrasing at the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge news. as I've said down in there in Miami, they're a little bit of a star that organization, and now they're getting by the stars back. And I can't say that it hasn't brought a grin to my face a little bit.
Yeah, this is what Tyreek Hill said after the game. He goes, yeah, I'm opening the door. I'm out, bruh. So it was great playing here. But at the end of the day, I've got to do what's best for my career and what's best because I'm too much of a competitor to just be out there. And then he tweeted afterwards, love Finn Nation, blessing y'all. Open doors for the Hill family forever. Nothing but respect and love. So it sounds like he has made up his mind. He's gone. He's gone.
Definitely. It sounds like he's like, I can't play here anymore. I'm sick of catching 5-yard passes. I'm still arguably the fastest guy in the NFL. He's certainly top 2 or 3. And yeah, that seems like frustration. We'll see where it goes. But he also did sign an extension that's going to make it very hard on the Dolphins to make some moves there. So yeah, they're going to have some turmoil to deal with, definitely. But yeah, Miami, again, they do some things well. Their defense had moments of looking really good today. But the offense has lost all explosive ability. They had a few drives to start the game where they got way down in there inside the 10-yard line, and they just came away with field goals. And those were big moments of the game where they could have squashed it right there. Right? You go up 14-0 early against a team like the Jets, they might pack it up and just be like, all right, we're done. We're down 14, but they let them hang around. And then Rodgers and company got hot and started to make a few plays, and they got a little juice in the stadium and everything there. Good for Aaron Rodgers getting the 500 touchdown pass. Aaron Rodgers is no question one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. His career ended or might have ended in a little bit of a, under the radar type way. But I don't want it to be messed up if this was the last time we saw him on the football field. That Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest talents I've ever seen in my life at the quarterback position. Wow. And congratulations to him with the 500 club.
Joe Namath agrees with what you said at the beginning there. After watching Aaron Rodgers play today, there's no doubt he's got another year in him. So if he wants to, I'd love to see him stay with the Jets. Could definitely help the new GM and coach as well as play ball. Still throwing with accuracy and authority. A lot of things are going to change with the Jets. He's mentioned it multiple times. Don't know what the future holds. But, yeah, I think that's well said on Aaron Rodgers. And everyone knows how much you have enjoyed and respected his career all the way throughout. So, yeah, if that's it, he was one of the great ones for sure. All right, let's move on to the Patriots. They defeat the Bills 23-16 in this one. Your headline for this game is?
One for the road. Yeah, Gerard Mayo said, you're going to screw me and fire me? I'm going to take that number 1 pick for the road. The hell with it. You're not going to get it.
I'll take it.
You're going to drop it out a few places.
They would have had the 1 pick with a loss. They end up with the number 4 pick. And Gerard Mayo is fired, which that was a surprise, right? I mean, I did not expect that.
There was rumors. There was a lot of rumors out there that he was in trouble. I think with the way the team played, the way he handled the press conference, you might have heard Jason Garrett and McCourty talk at the pregame show tonight. Didn't seem like there was a lot of exciting juice in that building around him. And maybe that's what led to the Crafts, saying no. But that's a tough deal. That really is. I mean, again, it's 1 year. This was not a very good football team. It's certainly one of the lesser rosters in all of football. I don't know what kind of results they were expecting. I do think because of some of the coordinators and other candidates that are out there, they looked at that and went, I don't know, like Mike Vrabel. If they wanted Mike Vrabel, who's a New England guy, right? They seen him get interviewed by the Jets yesterday. They're going, do we want to keep Gerard Mayo and hope it gets better? Or do we want to get some guys that maybe we have some more confidence in and we feel like we know it'll get better? That's obviously the route they took. I feel bad for Gerard Mayo. But when he took out Drake May early in the game, right, we had somebody here in the viewing room go, oh, that means he saved his job. And I literally was like, no, that's the opposite. They told him to take it out. And then when they were playing competitive, I went, no. He's getting fired. He knows that. That's why he's going to try to win the game. If he was a part of this whole thing, he would have made sure they didn't win the game today so he could have the number 1 pick. But I guarantee he had a good feeling he was going to be fired. And he said, the hell with that. I'm going out on a winning note. And Buffalo, on top of that, was probably like, sure, No problem. We'll let you win the game. We'd love for you guys not to have the number 1 pick. So it worked out for both sides as far as Gerard Mayo and the Bills. That's for sure.
Yeah, Luis Sosa said that to you. Do you think Mayo knew that he was getting fired? Did the Patriots exactly what Lovie Smith did to the Texans back in the day? And you feel like that was definitely part of it. Let me read you another one here, too. This is from Pats fan 0910. Damn okay. I knew it wasn't a great season for Mayo, but I'm surprised Kraft pulled the trigger. I want an offensive coach to pair with May, but no Kraft wants a coach with experience, Vrabel. So what are your thoughts there? You've kind of mentioned it a little bit, but do you think, Drake May needs an offensive-minded coach to help him get to where he needs to get to?
No, I get a little. I mean, certainly. I mean, listen, offensive coach. We know the positives there, but again, there's some offensive coaches out there, and some of these names that people are throwing out there. But I just go, it's not going to be any better than what you saw. Like some of these guys are overrated or had one big year or whatever else. You could say it. I'm sick of the notion of like the defensive guy can't have a good offense. Like again, Will Levis looked better under Mike Vrabel than Brian Callahan, right? Like guys like Mike Vrabel, they know what good offenses look like. They're smart defensive minds, so they know like, oh, this gives me issues. So I just think some of these teams got to stop pigeonholing themselves to just, we got to have the offensive guy. Now, get the best candidate. The best candidate's usually going to be a smart football guy and is going to know the right coordinators to pick and surround himself with the right people. So that's what I would say. But I'm still shocked like you. Gerard Mayo, I mean, he's been the guy they've been talking about for 3 years there to be the next head coach. And then you just give him 1 year. And then you don't even let him start the rookie quarterback to start the year. You let him start with Jacoby Brissett and have to deal with all that. And I know he wasn't perfect, but I'm a little surprised too. I think I'm with you in that boat.
All right, didn't talk about the Bills there, but we got plenty of time to talk about them as the playoffs.
There's nothing to talk about.
Go on
they
here.
didn't
right,
really try or do anything. Josh Allen continued his starting streak. They got to get a bye week basically, and now, hey, they're going to be fresh and ready to go with the Denver Broncos coming into town, and that'll be a fun game to watch next weekend.
All right, your pick to come on that, but that was Give Me the Headlines presented by Hyundai. So we'll take one more break. Our Sunday night game is in the books. It is over. The 1 seed has been determined in the NFC. We'll talk about my Detroit Lions and a couple other games of no consequence coming up next. Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. It is over. The 1 seed has been determined. My Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings in one of the better games the Lions have played all season long, and that's saying something. 31-9, the final score in this one. I did see Terrion Arnold get hurt. Zeitler went off with what looked like maybe a little bit of a hamstring injury at the end of the game, but they will have another week, an extra week to prepare now and play the worst seed there. So your instant takeaway from the Detroit Lions winning 15 games and getting the 1 seed.
Well, it is phenomenal that they've done it and the way they have done it with dealing with the injuries and really just never backing down and just going to hell with it. We're going. Hey, don't hit the brakes, hit the gas pedal harder. I mean, that's what they did. Oh, wait, we got defensive injuries tonight. Like, this is a great example again. When they came out, I think they blitzed and pressured Minnesota and Sam Darnold a lot more than they were expecting, right? Like, you don't do that with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and it's Kevin O'Connell, and he's got answers against the blitz. So I think they gave him a little bit of a curveball with blitzing him more than they expected. Sam Darnold was not on his game tonight. And as your offense wasn't on its game early on tonight. Certainly missed some opportunities, the interception, the 4th and inches, you throw the ball, it gets tipped up in the air and get incomplete, right? But the defense saved the day in the red zone. I mean, what did 0 for 3 to start the game, Minnesota down in the red zone? They turned the ball over on downs and then had to settle for 2 field goals, right? To kind of start it off. Those were big, like momentum swings for Detroit, and the fact that they didn't let Minnesota and that offense get going early on in the football game.
So much like the Bills in the last second, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Detroit Lions as they sit back here and rest and try to get some of these guys back, which they might. Alex Anzalone came back in this one. And we'll see with some of those other guys can just get 100% healthy as we move on. Vikings now 5 seed, so they go on the road. They're going to play at the Rams, a place where they lost earlier in the year. So
the Thursday night game, right?
Yeah, the Thursday night game, the 14-3 team. But here we go again with the Minnesota Vikings, much like a couple years ago, where they're going into the playoffs with not a whole lot of respect, or maybe a lot of people thinking they're going to make a run here. What do you think of the Vikings as they go into the playoffs?
Well, I think Minnesota's still dangerous. I do think that. I mean, again, with that offense and Darnold and the receivers and all that, Darnold did not have his best night tonight. So he's going to have to shake that off. He certainly missed some throws. He looked a little nervous or jumpy in the pocket in the first half. That certainly cost them. But, they're still also going to be able to sell themselves in this game and go, we had plenty of chances to control this game early on, and we blew it, right? That's what they're going to look at. I don't think the 31-9 score is quite indicative of what the game was in general. You were nervous as hell still halfway through the third quarter.
100%.
Right? So, they blew some opportunities. They didn't play their best, but I still think this Minnesota team on the road, Rams, that's going to be awesome. O'Connell and McVay, they work together. They got all that going. O'Connell's going to try to teach Brian Flores some of McVay's tricks. McVay's going to try to teach his defensive coordinator, Shula, some of O'Connell's tricks. I think it'll be a fun game. Like it was the first matchup, that was the game of the non-called face mask of Sam Darnold, if you remember, right? It was a very close, good football game. I expect it to be about the same once again.
All right. It'll be fun to watch. There's a lot of teams. I mean, Vikings, Lions, Eagles, all 14 wins plus in the NFC. And so that's going to be highly competitive, as it is each and every year. All right, we got a couple more games to talk about here, and we'll try to rip through these quick because I don't know if your ride leaves at some point, Chris. The game is over, and you might have to Uber back. So we should probably hurry through some of these. We got the Cardinals beat the 49ers in the game that really didn't mean anything, 47-24. Cardinals sweep the 49ers for the first time since 2021. I think a positive year for the Cardinals, and then one of the more disappointing years in all of football for the San Francisco 49ers. Is that how you would kind of sum up both of these teams?
Totally. I wasn't shocked by the 49ers and what they did today, right? They made some plays on offense. Isaac Guerrero got hurt. That was not cool to see. It looked serious. I know that Patrick Taylor had a real good game running the ball. Josh Jobs showed that, hey, I can move the ball under Kyle Shanahan and do some of that stuff too. But, 7-10 or 6-11, the 49ers didn't care about that either way. It was a losing year no matter what. I was not shocked to see them kind of slowly fall out of the picture here today. And Arizona on the opposite side is still building for the future. Gannon's going to be back. Kyler Murray had a good year, right? They got Marvin Harrison Jr. going. They showed they can run the ball with James Conner, right? Their defense was solid, even without any premier playmakers on it. So they had stuff to play for, Arizona. I was not shocked by this result. And I think they're trying to, go into the offseason going, hey, this is what we can be. And now we got all these draft picks and money we can spend. And I think Arizona will be a big-time player in the NFC next year. I'd be shocked if they're not, actually.
They've been building those draft picks too, the capital. They've had some high picks over the last years. Those guys have performed. And so, it's the NFC West is getting very, very competitive because you feel like the 49ers will bounce back. They missed the playoffs for the first time since 2020, but they should be able to bounce back. And then you got the Cardinals right there with the Seahawks and the Rams, not a whole lot separating any of those teams. So it should be a highly competitive division next year.
The 49ers got an interesting offseason of just Brock Purdy contract talk. Trent Williams is getting up there. Deebo Samuel, Kittle, right? Ayuk coming off of an ACL injury. They got a lot of things that they got to deal with and kind of figure out their team and where it wants to go for the future. That's going to be the big thing with the 49ers. There's still a lot of talent on that team, like you said. And I expect them to be back in the mix next year as well. But they got to reconfigure a few things. That's for sure.
Where do these two teams want to go in the future? So the Colts defeat the Jaguars in overtime, 26-23, but the Colts are missing the playoffs now for the 4th straight season, and the Jaguars missed the playoffs for the 15th time in 17 seasons and second in 3 under Doug Peterson. Where are those two franchises headed right now?
Well, one, I'm happy to see that the Colts and Jim Irsay's come out and said Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are back. Right? I think that's the right move. First off, I like Shane Steichen a lot. Again, what he's doing and how they run their offense without high quality quarterback play on a week-to-week basis speaks to the genius in which he is. Right. I think he's one of the best offensive play callers and game designers in the sport. So I think they'd be crazy to let him out of the building. Right. They gotta figure out, they get a few new playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. I wonder if they'll change D coordinators and Gus Bradley and get away from the Seattle 3 scheme. That's something I do wonder about. And of course, the quarterback situation is going to be huge for them. And just what do we do with Anthony Richardson? Because we're going into year 3. And we feel just like we did going into year 2, that he's not quite there yet. He needs help. I think they're going to do something at the quarterback position this year. They're not going to just let Anthony Richardson say, oh, here you go. Here's the keys to the franchise. We trust you. They got to protect their own asses in this one a little bit. So I think somebody will be in there to compete with Richardson or be a fail-safe plan. Jacksonville, I feel like they fought. They continue to play hard here at the end of the year. But, yeah, it feels like Doug Peterson's done. It does. And then the big thing is who they hire at head coach, and do they keep Trent Baalke as the GM? That's going to be a big thing. You know, a lot of coaches that are new coaches aren't going to love, wait, this guy, a GM that's here that I'm not really tied to the hip with, and he just fired a coach. Now he's going to hire me. Like, that's not going to be like, you know, awesome to a head coaching candidate. You know, there's only a few jobs out there and somebody might take it, but you know what I'm trying to say there all in all. Jacksonville with the quarterback who's still got talent, the damn receiver and Brian Thomas Jr., right? They got to fix their O-line. That's an issue there for sure. And they got to get their defensive coaching staff figured out. Their defense was pretty bad all year long. It certainly was worse than their talent. So I think you're going to see a lot of changes in Jacksonville.
All right, we don't want to forget 2 games that were on Saturday. They were both AFC North games. We had the Bengals defeating the Steelers 19-7 to keep the slim hopes alive for the Bengals. But, of course, once the Broncos destroyed the Chiefs, their hopes were dashed. I'm looking at the teams who are in right now in the AFC. How many teams that are in are playing worse right now than the Bengals? I would say the Bengals playing better than Pittsburgh, playing better than Houston.
Yep.
I mean, Denver, you could make an argument.
Yeah, they just beat Denver 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I'll give them the edge there, right? Yeah. You know, the Chargers.
So they will watch. Yeah. The Bengals will watch teams maybe
the edge over the Bengals. But, yeah, I hear you. It's just too little too late. It's a damn shame. It is. It's a damn shame. They blew some games they should have won early in the year. It's a damn shame their defense was pretty crappy all year long. And now they got to pay Jamar Chase $100 million a year because he just had the greatest season ever. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm joking. And they got to try to figure out T. Higgins. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Trey Hendrickson, who's leading the NFL in sacks, and he's going to want more money. They got issues there in Cincinnati overall. But, yeah, it's just disappointing because, like you said, they're hot. Joe Burrow is in the MVP conversation. But, yeah, they got it done. But just too little too late. And then Pittsburgh, how can you not be worried about Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, so Chris, what you said, you go, this is going to be the first year where I'm actually looking forward to seeing the Steelers in the playoffs. Do you still feel like that now that they're in the playoffs? It's gone
the wrong way. I feel like it's gone the wrong way. I do think they have more offense than they've had in years past with the Steelers, right? But it's still, I don't know if it's enough, you know, just with what they got. You know, I think the run game is spotty. Okay. The pass game is also spotty. I mean, George Pickens dropping passes. You know, certain parts of the field never get attacked by Russell Wilson in the passing game. Again, something we saw in Seattle for years. The ball really doesn't get thrown down the middle of the field very much with Russell Wilson. So that's an issue. Yeah, I mean, they can't be feeling good going to the playoffs right now with like, oh, damn, we got to go play the Ravens who are hot as shit. And we haven't played good football. They're going to have to hope for, hey, strip sack fumble, tip pass interception, block a punt. If the Steelers want to have an upset in round 1, it's going to take that type of effort. They're going to have to get some unforeseen circumstances made by their defense or special teams.
Speaking of the Ravens, you're right. They do go on hot 4-game win streak after their bye in week 14. They beat the Browns 35-10. They have beat the Browns, Texans, Steelers, and Giants 4 weeks in a row. They look like a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs right now.
I mean, I got some serious thinking about who I'm going to pick for MVP between Lamar and Josh Allen. I got to hand that vote in this week. I mean, it's real. I've gone back and forth with my brain here over the last week a bunch of times. But yeah, Baltimore, they got to be feeling themselves. Their defense has played well down the stretch here, or certainly a lot better than it did most of the year. Lamar's on fire. They're running the ball at will. I know they didn't play like the greatest teams here at the end of the year, but damn, the Steelers and Texans are still in the playoffs, and they had their way with both of those football teams. The Ravens possibly playing the Bills in the divisional playoff round is going to be awesome. We'll see where it goes. But this has got to be a little scary to them with Pittsburgh coming into town. Pittsburgh does know how to play them. And even in the second matchup, Pittsburgh was about to go up 14-3, and Russell Wilson fumbled on like the 3 or 4 yard line going in. Right. So I guarantee when Baltimore saw, we're going to play Pittsburgh, they were a little like, just because they know their tricks and how they approach certain situations and all that. And it takes away some advantages that Baltimore might have against other teams.
Yeah. Week 11 win for Pittsburgh, 18-16 before losing to them in week 16. All right. So here are the early wild card lines hot off the presses. And who knows, these may move around a little bit as we learn injuries, because I'm seeing the Eagles only a 3.5 point favorite over the Buccaneers. So let me run through this here and see if any surprise you here, Chris. Chargers, 2.5 point favorite, playing at the Texans. Steelers.
Not surprised by that at all.
Okay. All right. Steelers are underdogs, 8.5 points to the Ravens.
I would have expected that. I thought it might say 10 points, really, honestly.
Bills, 7.5 point favorites, hosting the Broncos.
Yeah, I can see that. If the Broncos can't show that they can run the ball early in the football game, they'll be in trouble, right? That's what I worry about. And with that aggressive style of defense, it could be feast or famine with Josh Allen. You might get calls a play or two, but he might make 10 plays in the process. That could be the problem there.
This is one that I think could go up. The Eagles only 3.5 point favorites against the Packers. So we'll have to watch that one, because Jordan Love, the Christian Watson.
Right. I think the one thing the Packers have is that they're not going to be like physically outclassed by the Eagles. They're one of the few teams that I think at the line of scrimmage is going to go, no, they're not just going to dominate us. And I think that's probably why the line is a little closer than maybe even I expected.
The Buccaneers favored at home is the 3 seed, hosting the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a lot of points in this one. And hey, Baker Mayfield's got experience. They're favored by 3. I understand that. And, they're explosive on the offensive side of the ball. But that's one there where I think we're going to see some points on the board in our games next Sunday night.
Yeah, Buccaneers favored by 3 in that one, in case I didn't mention it. And just posted, the Vikings, so both 5 seeds in the playoffs, are the favorites. Vikings are a 2.5 point favorite at LA to take on the Rams.
I'm not shocked. I mean, the Rams offense, the way it's looked as of late, the last few games we saw with Stafford and the starting unit out there were a little concerning. I understand that. But that's one there where I think it's a coin toss game. I do. I think that's one's going to be really close. And I think next Monday night, we're going to see one that comes down to the wire there.
Your picks pod still to come. DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the app and use promo code UNBUTTONED when you sign up.
DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
That doesn't work as good when we're doing it on Zoom.
when you have a little bit of a delay. Yeah, maybe Pete can edit that. But we did it. We made it through, Chris. That was, Pete's not going to do that. I do want to say, too, my first week back with you was last week, and the comments from the homies on the YouTube page were awesome, and I felt really special to be welcomed back by that. And so it was super nice by all the people who watched this. And so I did want to take a second to send my appreciation for that, because that does feel good. Even though we're calloused and we're on TV and we're used to, negative comments here, there, and everywhere, it does feel nice to get some positive ones every once in a while. So I just want to shout out to the homies who did that.
Hey, we're glad to have you back. You complete me. Okay, you complete me, Ahmed Fareed. You unlock me.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you do. You unlock my big mouth, and when you're hosting the show, I can get all my football thoughts out there. And we are glad to have you back. And just so you know, I get on the field tonight, right? We go by our set. All our bosses are there, and had so many people yell out about the podcast. Like
Let's
ton.
Go.
Like, I love your podcast. Tell Ahmed we said hi, blah, blah, blah. So we're getting some love from the Detroit fans there and in front of our bosses, which was a good thing, too. I wanted to be like, hey, bosses, you hear that? You know? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. It was the first time they found out that we actually did this thing. They were like, I didn't know you were still doing that. I thought you stopped years ago.
That's what you're paying me for. That's why I'm here.
All right, Chris. Well, that was fun. Hey, get back to the hotel safe. And when's your flight tomorrow?
I got to get up and do Florio, and this is going to be so fun. So I get to do the winner's show with you, and now I get to go tomorrow and make fun of the Vikings guy who lost on PFT. We're going to do the show in the morning in the stadium, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I get on a flight later in the morning. I'll be back home early afternoon. But as always, great show. Appreciate all the homies out there. Subscribe, rate, review. You know where to find us. Wednesday, Pick Six Podcast. We'll be back. All right, come find us. Peace out. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Yo, homies. Thanks for watching. Yeah, it's time. The NFL season is here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned.
You can hit subscribe to get all the weekly picks, plus our Sunday recaps as the games are happening.
Oh, you know it. Nobody does that better than us. Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out. We'll see you next time on Unbuttoned.